Good morning, friends. All right, today's topic, my top 3 tips to beating the sugar craving in the moment. But you guys, before I get started, I want to mention a couple things. First, today's video is not about sugar addiction. To be clear, today's video is about beating my sugar craving in the moment, the 3 steps that I follow that have generally worked for me. When it comes to sugar addiction, there's so many more steps and components that can be involved with that depending on you. And again, I'll do a video on that one here in the future. My recommendation to anyone listening who struggles with sugar addiction or any addiction for that matter, you're not in it alone. There is a lot of resources out there for that. And to be honest, you guys, this one actually, it chokes me up a little bit because I know it so personally. Today's topic and doing this video, it actually, I generally like doing things one take, especially recently. And this one actually took me a little bit. And I actually had to start and stop a couple times because it did choke me up. Because sometimes things get so personal for us, right? So sugar addiction, I'll walk through my steps with every one of what I've done in the future. In the meantime, there's a lot of support. Get help with a coach or a therapist. Get help somewhere so that you have someone to talk that through with. You're not in it alone, you guys. And often just the simple art of talking things through and having an outside perspective to give you different ideas or help you think in a different way can help in so many ways. And also, if you struggle with sugar addiction, and like myself, there were times, you guys, that I shamed myself thinking you have no control over yourself. And that was bullshit. It was a bullshit story. Because fact is, as I'm a very in control of myself person, and sugar is a very addictive for your brain thing. I'm not someone to tell you exactly what the chemicals are that are impacted by it, but I can tell you that studies show sugar impacts the brain much like many illegal or illicit drugs like cocaine. So getting off of it, imagine someone going through trying to get off of a drug. You're essentially working to get off a drug with sugar. So be kind to yourself is my point on that. I'll come back to it later and we'll chat more. So for today, sugar cravings in the moment. These are my top 3, and I can tell you they're the ones that I follow. And as of right now, I'm 5 weeks in of no sugar. And when I do have a sugar craving, these are what I follow. So try them and see what works for you. And I'll also give you a couple tips of things that don't necessarily work for me, but I know it works for some people. So let's start. So number 1, when I have sugar cravings, it usually comes after a meal. Occasionally I'll have sugar cravings in the afternoon. For me, I've learned identifying when it happens and when it shows up. It allows me to manage it more effectively and be prepared more effectively for when it does show up. So start tracking when cravings show up for you. Again, it could be easier to manage. Not one of my tips, but it is a good tip nonetheless. Number 1, when it shows up, you guys, my first is usually I drink a glass of water. And sometimes I'll go for a glass of tea if I know it's a really intense craving. But generally just a glass of fresh, healthy water is a big one for me. If you do go with tea, some recommendations that I've used, I like a good turmeric tea or a ginger tea or even a lemon tea has helped me in the past. So maybe try those. And these are all 3 of these for me, you guys, they're all intertwined. I tend to do all of them and it generally helps that way. So number 2, just wait. Often the simple art of just giving yourself 10, 15, 20 minutes can help alleviate that craving. Again, this is one that I know that there's chemicals in the brain involved in just the simple art of waiting. And think about it. Think of how often your brain just switches gears. and just waiting 10 to 15 minutes, there's a strong possibility your brain will just switch gears to something else, especially if you follow the next one. And that for me is I get up and do something, whether it be a walk around the house. I'm a very physical person. So doing squats, doing jumping jacks, doing sit-ups, doing something active to get my blood flowing. That for me, and we'll talk about this when I talk about addiction in the future, for me, this has also helped because then I can reframe that I am a healthy person, and that reframing can often help. So, and again, we'll come back to that one. So get up and do something active. Now, you guys, in combination with all of those, drinking your water or tea, getting up and moving, waiting 10 to 15 minutes, it's also important that you focus on something else. Because if you're doing those and you're focused on, I want chocolate, I want chocolate, I want chocolate, well, you're kind of reinforcing the fact that you still want the chocolate at the end. And there's a strong possibility it's not going to help your craving. However, if instead you're focused on, I am in control of my body, I am in control of my mind, I am in complete control of everything that I put in me. If instead you're focused on those instead of that sugar craving and what you want, it could also help. So those are my top 3. Some other things that I know, well, one other thing that I can think of right off head that I've tried, but it didn't really do much for me. There are things like bitters tabs and sweet drops. Maybe I'll do a video on those just with some examples of what you can try that do help some people. And that's usually just a liquid or a tablet that you can put on your tongue, put in your mouth. That because of the bitter taste, for some people, it can help that sugar craving. Again, it didn't really do much for me. The other 3 are usually my go-tos. So give them a try. Beat those sugar cravings, especially as we come into the holidays. If it's something that you want to make sure that you're having balance to have some and have control at other times, give it a try. I hope it helps for you as well. And if you ever are looking for support or help, drop me a line, subscribe, share this along. I would love to hear from you. Also of other topics that you're looking for in the future. Stay well, my friends. Till next time.